Today I'm going to be telling you how I built my water feature, and it looks beautiful.
Yes! Please subscribe!
I'm sitting here for a very good reason, because right in front of me, behind the camera there, is the water feature, and I can sit here and look at it. Now I want to show you how I built it and why I built it like it is. Now, the first thing I did before I laid a single stone in place is I wanted to make sure that I knew what my water feature was going to sound like, because you listen to it more than you see it, because it's always in the sound. And I didn't want something like this, because to me that sounded like I was going to have a pee. And when I get older, it wouldn't be very nice to have that sound going all the time. So I went to the garden centre and I looked at a whole lot of waterfalls, and I came up with identified one that sounded really good, that I liked, and it went something like this. You know, something that had a curtain of water, like that. And I was happy with that sound. So everything I've done here was designed around that sound. Well, I'm very happy to show you how I built this. Now, after I had figured out what sound I wanted, the rest became elementary, because the first thing I did was I drew a sketch of the different levels that I wanted. Now, there were two primary levels. The first one with the two little falls going out, and the top one over here where it all comes in. Now, after I had drawn these, I then went and I got the slab, the concrete slab that I had made. I laid it down and I built on top of the slab exactly what I had drawn over here. And I'm quite happy to say that it looks really nice like this. And then I waited a couple of days and I built the next level, which came up to just below this piece of slate over here, and I had to wait then again for that to settle. But on that day I also put some of the stones around here, flagstones, to see how much stone I really had. And I was quite happy with the amount of stone that I had collected out of the garden, because you saw me previously digging the stuff out of the garden, and it's come to its fruition now, and it's been really worth it. And so when I did that, then I built the third one on, which are these two stones and the slate and everything. And then I put more stones around the edges, and I also put this great big monolith down in the pond, and I felt that was a really pleasing architectural design feature, because having that sort of there centers this pond and gives it a sense of harmony and anchoring, that it's not just something falling over, but it's anchored into the pond as well. And so I put that in there, and this and all the stones around, as you can see, all around the edges, it's fully covered, except in the front over here. And I put the pot plants in and everything else. And then when I came back after a while, I put the capstone on and this, and then I also had to build a little platform for the filter to stand on. And this is what I've done over here. Now, as you can see, this is made out of total rubble, but that's not a problem, because I put the rubble together, then I took a bag of concrete and I poured the concrete into the middle, so that these stones are really hard and fast and they won't come out of place. But I had to ensure, and that's why I put this over here, that this level and this level were the correct distance, because the filter has these pipes that come through here and they go out into the fall. So that's the only accurate bit of work I had to do. Now I've cut the liner off behind here, so that any water splashes will just simply go into the liner and it can find its way out without wetting everywhere else. So anyway, that's how I built the filter. Now, of course, one of the last jobs I had to do was put this capstone over the top. Now it's loose because this little gargoyle is there. I can always take this capstone off if I want to work on the pipes below here. So that's why I've left this sort of loose, and it just fits on top here, just to cover the pipes from sight, and it'll be really pretty, you know, just in that place. And I put the gargoyle here because he's protecting this side. Now, the last thing that came was, it came this morning, and that's my little statuette. On the far side of the pond here, I've got my statuette of Jesus. Now, I haven't cemented him yet, but being a religious and prayerful man, I thought it very appropriate that I have Jesus to watch over my fish and my pond, and of course, make another central point on this side of the pond. Because once you've got something anchoring it on that side, it's a very pleasant design feature to have something anchoring it on this side. And so this is why I've got my little Jesus over here, and it makes a beautiful, pleasant atmosphere in the garden. I love him. On the far side over there, under the water feature, you can see I've got the pipes that go into the pond where the pump is attached, and I can pull it out at any time to give it a service. And so it's quite nicely sort of hidden away, and eventually there'll be some sort of plants that will cover and camouflage its entrance into the water. Okay, I just want to talk about finance first in building up this pond, because it is very, very important, because I always want to do things as cheaply as possible. Now, the pond when I found it wasn't that big, but I expanded it in because there was really nothing else I could do, and I felt inspired to maybe try and grow my own fish as a sort of providing for my own food and striving for the self-sufficiency. So what did it cost me to buy the equipment for the pond? Now, my pond is about 5,500 litres, and I don't know how many fish that's going to take in, but I did some research, and I found the pump that I needed to stock the fish that are, a fully stocked pond of fish would cost me in the region of, the pump would cost me £88.90. The pond filter was £158.99. And that's just for the pond and the pump filter. But then I also, of course, needed the underlay, which was another £85.14. And then I needed a bit of hose, which is about £5.40. And that included some sort of clamps as well, to clamp on all the clamps. So that came to a grand total of £338.48. Now, that was absolutely essential if I wanted to have a pond stocked full of fish. So having said that, how much did this beautiful surround that I've made? Well, with that, I've done a little comparison here of two stones, one that had been pressure washed and one that wasn't, because I dug all that out of my garden. If you can remember, when I was digging down, I was taking out rocks, and I was quite fed up with all these stones, and they caused quite a mountain. I haven't used them all, but there's one over here that hasn't been pressure washed, and the other that has been pressure washed. And wow, what a difference it made. And I tell you what, it saved me a fortune, because I didn't have to spend any money on stones or bricks. All that little surround that you see around the pool of those bricks was all the bricks that I had dug out of the garden, and I thought they were absolute rubbish, but I repurposed them and I've made that pond. So what did I have to spend? Well, I had to spend some money on the concrete slab, which everything was built on top, and that cost me, it was 3 bags of quick set cement, and that cost me £18.45. And then, of course, I had to have mortar for where I put all those stones together on the first and second levels to hold everything together, and of course on the third level where the last slate is. And I had to get 5 bags of mortar there, and that cost me £37.85. So that altogether was a total of £56.30. Now, the little statuette that I've got there is an absolute indulgence, but being a prayerful man and a lover of Jesus, I just had to have him in the garden, and I needed something on that pond to offset it and make it look beautiful, to anchor it on the other side. Now, it's going to have trees and bushes and all sorts going around it, but it must be there for me. And that cost me another £51.50. So this pond, all told, cost me £446.28. And I'm absolutely delighted on that, because £338.48 was absolutely essential for me to be able to grow fish in that pond, which is going to provide me with a source of food, and it's going to save my food budget in the end. Now, as you can see, there's one part of the pond that I haven't done anything about, and that's this little low wall that I'm sitting on top here. Now, I'm not going to be doing anything about that until I start to tackle what I'm going to be doing in my entertainment area. Because at first, my first thought was to build it up a nice big seat over here where I could sit comfortably and watch the pond. But I decided against that, and I'll tell you why. Because if I'm in my entertainment area, this raised area would block my view of the pond. As it is, this little wall that I've got between the kitchen and or between the garden and the entertainment area is going to have to be reduced in size, because already I can't see my pond because that wall is disturbing my view. Now, there's a whole lot of more stones over there, and I've already got a use for them in the entertainment area when I get round to doing that in a couple of years' time. So, until then, I'm not going to be doing anything serious here. I might be putting a few slabs on top here, but it's just going to be temporary until I've decided exactly what I'm going to be doing there, because when I sit there, I want to have the optimum view over here. So things like this windy dryer are going to have to come out, but I'm going to have to replace them first with a hand line of somewhere that I can hang my clothes to dry. And I thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure presenting my water feature and my pond to you and how I built it. Bye-bye.